Welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is going to be a unique and special take on pay to play versus free to play and the PvP tournament that occurred just recently. I have been on some of the forums and been reading, and man, it is like World War III in there. I'm like duck and run, duck and run. But no, for real, I wanted to talk on it for just a second, just to give both sides, both perspectives, and kind of where I stand on it and what I think about the whole situation. First off, a lot of people say, Warrior, you're going to talk about free to play and play to play. How can you do that? You've got a pay to play account. You spend some money on the game. How can you even speak from our perspective? Well, first off, you don't have to be free to play to speak on a free to play perspective, because the struggle as free to play. That's why you start spending money as a pay to play. So you learn those struggles and you end up deciding whether you enjoy this game enough to spend money to overcome those obstacles. I, on the other hand, chose to do both. So I have my other account, and as you see here before you in all of its glory, I have my level 72 account, which I started approximately a month after I started my other account. So you can see that it's a struggle. This is my free-to-play account, and I know the struggle. I know what happens when you don't have enough energy, to farm, and you've got to decide, am I going to farm Jedi Consular's stupid shards, or am I going to try and gear Princess Leia up? By the way, I just got Princess Leia this morning to gear 8. What a absolute pain in the butt. I had to get these hair dryers. they're hypo syringes, but I call them hair dryers. I had to get 50 of those to get her to gear level 8, and it literally took me 2 weeks of farming to get her to finally get to gear 8 for one stupid piece of gear. So I get it. I understand the struggle's real. I understand. I just turned level 72 this morning. I literally popped 72 this morning, and look at my credits, 336,000. Okay, look at my team. Level 71, Qui-Gon. I really want to take him to level 72. Level 71, Geonosian. I want to take him to 72. I only was able to get 2 characters to level 72, Lando and Stormtrooper Han, my leader and my tank on my team. So I get it. And then you can see it's a sharp drop off after that. I'm, 50s, and then 30s. And then I have cool characters like, Count Dooku and Darth Vader that I have unlocked, but I can't do anything with. I don't have the credits ever to put any resources into these individuals. And that's just the way free-to-play works, okay? So it happens. For example, Old Daka, this is who I'm farming right now for my dark side battles, because I desperately want a stunner and a healer for my dark side. So I've got her and Royal Guard. But I got to get them leveled up before I can do any more dark side missions. And look at where I'm at. I am pathetic on my dark side missions at 5, and I'm kind of stuck here. I can't surpass it yet, so even with help. And so I understand the struggle is real with free to play. I understand when you go into an event like Omega Battles, you only 2-star and you don't even have the ability to unlock the last one. I understand when you go into challenges and you go to do your AGI gear and you unlock tier 4 and you can't frickin' beat tier 4 because you've got that stupid Savage Opress who smashes and blashes. And I get it. I've been there. I am there currently. So I am a free to play and I am a pay to play. I have both accounts and I understand the struggles on both sides of the coin. But I will tell you, with strategy, you can look at my rank on this free-to-play account is 43. I have kept myself in the top 50 since the beginning of this game. I mean, I started at level, I think, 6,000, and I had to spend a week grinding from 6,000 up to the top 200, and then it took me one more week to get from the top 200 to the top 50. And I've stayed in the top 50. Now I get bumped routinely out of the top 50. It happens, but I do grind. I had a huge strategy, and if you look at my team, you can see it's not perfect, but it's decent. Princess Leia and Geonosian Soldier are my DPS. I've got Stormtrooper Han, which is a great tank, Lando Calrissian, who's a great leader, and he helps Stormtrooper Han and Princess Leia with speed and critical damage, and of course Qui-Gon to get rid of their taunts. And you can see I don't have their abilities maxed. I don't have very good mods. If you look at their mods, I've got a couple of 3 and 4 and 5 dot mods, but they're like health mods. I get the struggle of going over to mod battles and not being able to progress any further. I understand going to mod challenges and only being able to do the health mods, which I just did 2 days ago. and all the rest are just completely locked. So again, I understand free to play. So I understand free to play, I understand pay to play, I understand the perceptions of both. So let's talk about this PvP tournament that happened, what was right with it, what was wrong with it, what they're going to do in the future to change it, and the perspectives from both ends, and how Warrior feels about the situation. So first off, the tournament was a great idea from EA. They were trying to create or bridge a gap between free-to-play and play-to-play. Now, I'll explain that in a minute, and so I'll come back to that. But it was their way of trying to create a new way of giving people access to these premium characters, if you will. I'll call them premium characters. So they launched the PvP tournament, and there were some problems. First off, they realized that as people joined, the more eager individuals joined, they were grouped together. So the earlier you joined, the harder the shard it was that you were placed into, and the harder you had to grind to get up to the top. Whereas people like me who casually waited and then just hopped in, when I had time, because I work for a living, I work like 65 to 80 hours a week. I just, can't always get on the game when I'd like to get on the game. I miss raids at times, I know the struggle with that too. But I was getting into the game, and I started playing, and they put me into a shard, and that particular shard happened to be a little bit easier. So that was kind of a blessing, but not really for the rest of the people, because the people who got in, should have been grouped more towards people who were of similar stature, and not just with harder people. The second thing that was bad on this is they allowed you to set defense, but then they allowed you to change it infinitely. They recognize this, they've acknowledged it, and they're going to change that. So that is cool that they have come to that. The third is that teams were realizing that if they paired up with one of their teammates, that their teammate could drop crap defense, they could attack, and then they could change their defense real quick to hard defense, and they could do that back and forth. Now that is a ridiculous amount of work, and so it took a lot of teamwork, it took a lot of work, it took a lot of coordination, but that was the choice of some people to try and do that because they saw that. Now that started, of course, when the PvP started back in the Asian servers. They were the first ones to drop, and the Asian servers started, and for about 10 hours, my team and other teams watched in horror as these teams paired up and started buddying and started to skyrocket to the top. So EA was notified about this, and of course, this is a game where people spend money. Okay, it's a product, so it creates a unique problem because when people are spending money on a product, you cannot take away the product that you've allowed them to purchase. Okay, so you got to keep this in mind when using your filters in this whole view of what's going on, what's right, what's wrong, and so they have allowed people to do certain things, and the problem was brought to their attention, and so they addressed it in the only way that they really could, because remember, they've allowed people to purchase this product in its form, in its current form, and it can't be altered or they are going to lose money. People can literally file refunds and things like that. So they had to go and figure out what are they going to do. Well, there's two things that they can do about it. One, in the future PvP tournaments, they can change it, right? They can change how it operates, functions, and all of that, and they plan on doing so. So the reactive solution is already going to be in place. So the future is going to be better because we learn from our mistakes, right? Growth is painful at times, and this game is growing, and so it's one of those things. You chalk it up to lesson learned. The second thing they can do is take a formal stance against what was happening. Now some people call it an exploit, some people call it a cheat. It's definitely not a cheat. It's not a cheat because a cheat is something where you hack into the game and you actually reprogram or give yourself something you can't get. This is actually using the game's coding for what it was. It was exactly used and coded exactly, it was used how it was coded. So while it wasn't necessarily intended to be utilized in the way that it was, the only thing that EA could do was to come across and say officially they would appreciate if everybody played fairly. Well, okay, so I don't care what sport in the world that you like. We'll just pick soccer, which is football for a lot of you out there in the world. But let's just say soccer, let's say football. you're playing and everybody gets to play in this tournament and everybody has teams, and you walk in and some teams have, 5 people on their team and other teams have 50. Okay. That's kind of like some people have unlocked 5 of these characters and some people have unlocked, 50 of these characters. But they tell you that you get to pick your best 5. And then you start seeing all these other teams rotating in these easy teams. Now, what they're doing is they don't even have to play against the other teams. So, of course, free-to-play and other people, and by the way, free-to-play characters like me and other people weren't upset. We weren't the only ones that were upset. Everybody was upset about this. Even the people that spend thousands of dollars on this game were upset, okay? We all understand and recognize the exploit for what it was, that it was that people, and you can call it an exploit, but people realized there was kind of a break in the way that the tourney was supposed to work. So it's like telling the referees in your soccer match, hey, these guys are playing against themselves. That's not fair. And then the referee's saying, well, we started the tournament, we're allowing it. Now, we'll officially tell everybody, please don't do it, but we're going to go ahead and stand by and watch because everybody paid to get into this tournament and we're not going to change how the tournament rules are now. The rules are set for what they're set for. So we ask you guys don't play in those rules, but so now you're standing by and you're watching these teams on another server or your server continue to do it for hours. And they're racking it up and going up the tournament and winning. So you have a choice. You have actually 2 choices, okay? And everybody is polarized and took one of 2 stances, okay? And I will surprise most of you in the stance that I took. So the stance was, well, that's not fair, and it's not fair, so I get to do it too. If everybody else is doing it, I'm going to do it, right? And the other stance is, and if they're not going to fix it, then it's shame on them, and I'm going to utilize everything to the maximum. If you're competitive and you're going to go against other people, of course you're going to try and use any and every aspect of the game. There's RNG, which is the random numbers generator, which kind of helps you or hurts you in a game, but when it's coded a certain way, that is what it is. So, and if they officially tell you they're against it, but they don't change it, they're for it, okay? So you can say all day that EA was against it, and they can say they were against it, but at the end of the day, they weren't against it because they couldn't be against it. And they couldn't be against it because this is a game where people spend money, okay? They're buying a product, and you can't change the product once it's been delivered. It's just unethical. We live in a capitalist economy, and the worldwide economy is going capitalist, so this is something they cannot change. So they're allowing it. So you have 2 choices. Either succumb and do what everybody else is doing and try to, gear and grind and go up to the top by using a teammate and stuff. And by the way, if you chose to do that, I do not fault you at all, because there is no reason why you should sit on the sidelines and be quote unquote honorable in a stupid video game where everybody else is utilizing this break in the game to benefit themselves and their teammates. And the second is, it took a ridiculous amount of coordination, which is where it leads me to the other side, which is sit out and not play it the way that you can, rather play it the way that it was initially intended. And that's where I sat. I actually sat that way the entire tournament, both in my free-to-play account and in my pay-to-play account. And for one reason, actually, not because of ethics, because by the way, ethics have nothing to do with this game. This is a secular game. It's Star Wars, for goodness sakes. So you can't bring ethics into this. This isn't the church. We're not sitting in pews. What we're doing is we're playing a game, and they're establishing the rules, and we play within the parameters given. So you can't bring ethics into this. Now, they did, in their defense, try to bring ethics into it, saying, everybody please sit out. Now, I don't care what they asked. A lot of people didn't. Some people did. Those individuals who sat out chose to sit out and play it the way that the game makers, quote unquote, intended to make it. But I sat out as far as not using a teammate to grind and get up to the top for 2 reasons. One, I didn't care about the shore trooper. I really didn't. I only wanted to unlock him. So my goal was to get top 100, and you can watch all my previous videos and see my previous gameplay to know that I tried very little. I did not put much effort at all. My free-to-play account, I spent 500 crystals. My pay-to-play account, I spent 700 whopping crystals, okay? So I did not invest a whole lot of crystals into this tourney. Both of my accounts, my free-to-play and my pay-to-play, I was able to get top 100 on my pay-to-play and top 200 on my free-to-play with 500 crystals, and you can see the characters that I have. So my top 200 did not get me a shore trooper at all on this account. I do not have a shore trooper. You can look. No shore trooper, right? So, and that's okay. But I did get 20 shore trooper shards, which is what you get when you were in the top 200. So that's okay with me. I am not worried about it. He's a premium character, and I'll explain why this tournament's amazing here at the very end in my conclusion. But my other account, I was able to unlock him. I simply want to unlock him at 3 stars so I can do a review at some point on him because I have a YouTube channel. So that was my point. But the second reason why I didn't participate in this bug or this glitch or whatever you want to call it was because it took a ridiculous amount of teamwork, coordination, communication, and timing. And I work for a living. I work 60+ hours a week. I cannot sit down at 4 in the morning when I've got a family and get up and try and coordinate with 3 other people on that shard. And by the way, there was only 2 other Team Instinct characters on my shard that I was aware of that was even participating. And they were so far away from my ranking that we just couldn't coordinate anyway. Even if I wanted to coordinate, I couldn't. So I didn't not do it because of ethics. That's stupid. Ethics doesn't play a role in this game at all. It just doesn't. So to bring ethics in is stupid, and to fault people for playing within the rules and guidelines and parameters that EA created within the programming is stupid too. So I don't fault people that used it, but I also don't fault people that didn't. I understand why people who were upset on free-to-play were upset, or people that were pay-to-play who chose to play it the way that EA had initially intended it. I'm the same way. I understand how they chose to do it, but I didn't not use it because of that. I didn't do it because it took too much work. So kudos and props to anybody who recognized the exploit, realized every other team that was high-end was doing that, and decided they had the right to be just as competitive and step into that arena as well. So good on them. For those who sat out, this isn't ethics. You just chose to sit out, okay? If you chose to sit out because you didn't have a team that could help you, or you didn't have the money for the crystals, or you were like me and you were just like, meh, who cares? Honestly, who cares? This is a game. You could read some of the posts in the forums and you would think literally that this is like the biggest crisis since World War II, and everybody is totally up in arms. So now let's just quickly take a step back, okay? I like to take a step back anytime that I see a lot of heat and a lot of people upset on both sides. People are saying, oh, it's justified, we had the right to do it. Other people saying, no, that's not the way they intended it, and you're just a cheater. And I see both sides. I get it. I get both sides. But, big but, let's take a step back. What did the player versus player tournament replace? Bueller? Does anyone know? Erodium packs. Have you seen an Erodium pack anytime recently? No. And so how would we used to get the Shore Trooper? They would have released him in an Erodium pack, and who would have been able to get him? Bing, 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 pay to play. That is it, pay to play, only pay to play. Is that a problem? Well, if you're free to play, yes, that's a huge problem. The game has a division. It does not allow you to be free to play and have certain characters. Right now, currently, there's a bunch of people complaining that they can't get Rex and they can't get Sunfac. Well, by the way, you can save up your crystals every other day and buy 4 shards every other day of Sunfac. You could get him in about 2 weeks by just saving up your crystals and buying those shards, even if you're free to play. I've considered it on my free to play account, but I have not done that yet. But I mean, if I really, really want him, that's something I can do. Okay, so it is available to you on those characters, but that is a tough grind. But essentially these Erodium packs were these, like Geonosian Spy and things like that. They were free to play, banned. You couldn't get them if you were free to play, and there was this barrier, and there was a lot of people that complained to the company. And the company is awesome. EA is trying to make this game better for everyone. This tournament, albeit a slight failure, is a phenomenal step in the right direction. So they came up with this amazing idea to do tournaments. Often. They're actually going to do tournaments quite a bit, and they're going to put in these Erodium exclusive characters, or these characters that used to be only pay to play, okay? So nobody can get them except for people spending money. Well, now there's going to be these tournaments, and even if you place 2,500 on your shard, which is essentially you not even hardly trying. That is you going in once a day, using your characters once or twice, and one team or two teams once or twice, and putting in almost no work. You're still going to get like 1 million credits. You're going to get like 10 to 20 shards of a character. And that's something people didn't even talk about, is the peripheral benefits of this particular tournament. This is just one more avenue. So Erodium used to benefit nobody but pay-to-play, and all pay-to-play got was a character. They'd spend a couple $100, unlock a character, and now they have an exclusive advantage over free-to-play. That's gone away, and now there's this tournament where everybody gets ability mats, everybody gets credits, and the credits were phenomenal. Even on my free-to-play account, getting in the top 200, I think I got like 2 million credits or something crazy. I mean, that's nuts. For me, that was like, you should have seen me upgrading all my characters. I'm like, woo, I get to upgrade everybody to actually be the level they're supposed to be. I was super stoked. I'm like, yeah. Well, that was my free-to-play account, and this is now an opportunity, these tournaments. Once, of course, they fix it, it'll be operating the way it's supposed to, and nobody can be mad at anybody because it'll be the way they designed it. However, it's giving you all these ability mats and credits and character shards and all of that. The old way, if you were free to play, you'll never get that character or those character shards for free. But the new way, you can play this tournament, pay no credits or no crystals, and earn a crap ton of credits, crap ton of crystal ability mats, and unlock this character. Now, will it take somebody who spends no money more time to unlock a character like Shore Trooper than it will for somebody else who's spending a crap ton of money? Yes. And is that fair? Yes. Because if somebody's willing to drop $200 to get 180 extra shards of a particular character, then so be it. And the old way was that they would get them with that $200 completely 7-starred, and you wouldn't have them at all. So the fact that they've changed it to where everybody benefits now, everyone benefits. Everyone, even from the bottom to the top, everyone benefits with all these extra credits and ability mats and things like that. And now everybody, even free to play, even the person that spends not a penny on the game, now can unlock these character shards of these characters. So that is an awesome change. This PvP tournament is an awesome change. Looking at it from a free-to-play or a pay-to-play perspective, it does not matter. This is a positive step in the right direction. So I'm going to tell you that while there was some bugs with the way that the PvP tournament went, I'm not going to fault people who sat out and chose to play it the quote-unquote honorable way, which, by the way, there's no ethics in this game, so that's silliness. And I'm not going to fault the people who ended up using those bugs to their advantage and their favor, because why sit on the sideline and watch other teams unnecessarily, all these other teams unnecessarily score all these extra points within the parameters of the game, and you sit by and watch and not do anything about it? It's just silliness. So in the future, the PvP tournament's going to work better. Everybody's going to be happier with that. And just remember, take a step back and keep a perspective. You may be competitive and you may want a 7-star Shore Trooper, but you're playing a game that you may not be spending any money on. So it's just not possible, okay? You're going to have to quote unquote grind it out. We all know that, right? When we're doing free to play, we got to grind these things. So my Ray, look at her. She's 54 of 85. I would love her to be 7-star. I don't have her 7-star. It's not possible. I have to slowly grind her out. It's just what happens, okay? And then days like this happen where she drops in the guild store and it's like, magic from heaven. So you click on it because you're like, I'm going to buy those. And then you realize, 337, it takes 400. So the one time she drops, I don't have enough. Again, Warrior gets the free-to-play struggle. Warrior gets the pay-to-play struggle. I encourage all my viewers, and I encourage everybody hearing this in the sound of my voice, to take a step back and realize this tournament, while it had some flaws, was nobody's fault which side they chose. They chose a side, they stuck with it. That was an independent and free choice. Keep ethics out of this game. This game is just to be fun, to burn some time, to have a little bit of fun playing with Star Wars characters. And let the game makers fix any glitch or any break in the game, and in the future it'll come out. Remember, there's growing pains anytime there's a release on anything in the game. Yes, do they beta test these things and try to make sure that they work? Yes, but is there always hindsight where they realize something isn't working the way it was meant to be? Yes, that happens. But just for a moment, get over yourselves and realize, if anybody's offended at this tournament, that this tournament was their intention to bring closer the gap between free-to-play and play-to-play. Because now, these characters, which were once exclusive only to people that spent money, are now no longer exclusive. They're available to everyone. You just may take a little bit longer to get them to where you want. That is the end of my rant, and I hope that it helped clear the air a little bit. I understand that all of you are highly opinionated and probably will come down on the comments and say how you feel and think, and that is okay. I've got thick skin like the Rancor, so your bolts and blasters will just bounce right off my skin. I got thick skin, it's okay. But if you want to leave comments down below on your opinions of this particular tournament, what you liked, what you disliked, what your opinion on as far as the two types of individuals that happened to utilize this tournament, people who did it the way it was designed and people who utilized the break in the game. Which one were you? And anything else that you want to comment, leave it down below. As always, have yourselves a wonderful day. Keep your gaming on. Warrior out.